Hey, welcome back to another episode of It's a Football Thing. I am RJ, your host, and I'm joined by my fellow co-hosts, Scott, the Ranter, Gooner, and Robbie, the Red Devil. We are joined here by a very special guest and a returning special guest, I might add, the very now famous celebrity, Kat from Born Offside Podcast. Check them out. Kat, how you doing this evening?
I'm well, guys. By the way, I love that intro. You just got me. I got so excited watching that. I love it.
Just clip it. Just clip it.
Listen, Kat, if you want to use it, if you want to play it on Born Offside, you can. Feel free. There's no shame in using our clip.
No worries.
Scotty,
I'll pass it on.
Hey, I'm not sure if anybody's had a chance yet, but before we went live and we're obviously going to talk transfers, the big deadline day saga. Scott, our resident Gooner, decides to take upon himself to have an extended rant, which he's going to elaborate on. But just quickly before I get Rob's thoughts, how you feeling, Scott? Are you a bit more relieved now, or what's the feeling?
Nah, I'm still not calm. All day, obviously, because being an Aussie with the transfer window, and if we've got some of our friends over in the UK watching, you kind of go to bed. And in recent times, you go to bed, unless you don't have a job or you have more energy than me. You wake up in the morning and then you scroll down your Twitter and you look at all the business your team has done. This morning, I got out of bed, started scrolling. I'm like, might just be a little bit further. Maybe under Liverpool's signing that they didn't need. Nope. Maybe under Spurs business. Nope. And nothing. Nothing for Arsenal. I was burning all day, literally, because it was absolutely a stinking hot day. And I was burning on the inside. So I thought, I'm going to be real miserable company tonight if I don't record something and get it out. So I did a 10-minute transfer window reaction. I'm sure Martin's watched it on repeat about 1,000 times. Yeah, there you go. I'm sure Martin, the Spurs fan, enjoyed that. But, yeah, I had to get it off my chest because, as we'll unpack, it was deadline day. It certainly was. So, yeah, I won't say any more for now. I'll say.
Take a breather, Scott. Collect your thoughts. Robbie, how you going, my Red Devil brother?
Good, mate. I'm not as disappointed as Scott. As I said weeks ago, I wasn't expecting any incomings, and I was expecting a lot of outgoings, and that's exactly what happened. I think the only thing I was disappointed was we normally at least get a fake rumor, like to get our hopes up for the day, and we didn't even. There was just United was just dead. Literally, there was no linking to anything. I said it a
couple of outgoings, though, Rob, when you look at it, though, right? And a couple of important outgoings maybe helps things out a little bit, which we'll touch on.
Well, look, I think the most disappointing thing is I think some of the players that wanted to go, like unhappy players that we've been saying for a while, like we're not getting played, we want to play elsewhere, they're the ones that got held back, which doesn't make any sense. I don't know why you want to keep players that don't want to be there, like i.e. Lingard didn't get his move. I know Henderson. I know Watford were trying to get him on loan. He wants to get game time under his belt, so he would have went anywhere. And I think there was another one or two that other clubs were trying to get. Phil Jones, like he got one of the French clubs came in for him yesterday, and it was him that said rejected him. So, like I said,
it's just a balance, though, isn't it? Though, because
exactly.
I'm thinking same thing in the Chelsea camp. I know people might look down on us and say, you have no right to complain about getting more players. You're richer than Roosevelt, this and that and the other. But the reality is the club has got to balance everyone. You can't just have all these people going and then all of a sudden you might get hamstrung and you can't bring people in. You could really put yourself in a difficult position, Rob. So, look, for me, and I'll kick it off too, just saying, Tom made an observation, am I on loan to Liverpool with my red? But what I want to say is tonight is the Reds review. We have brought our special guest Kat back on the show to help us unpack Liverpool season. And we have had a little bit of a visit of the Reds on the way through the season, but we want an update from you, Kat. We want to know you're probably the most realistic chance of stopping the Manchester City reign. And we just want to know about the future of players like Mo Salah. Is Klopp now looking at the end of his tenure? All of these things we want to get from you. But before we do any of that good stuff, if you're in the chat, please feel free to hit the like button, share it with your friends. We're fast on our journey to 500, so we're very close to get there. But let's welcome a few people in the IFT crew. We've got Davide, our Leeds brother from another mother. As I said, Tom here has made an astute observation about my chosen red shirt. I think it looks pretty good, by the way. Just
You look
saying.
good in red.
I think so. I'm a blue at heart, of course. The Football Capital, another fellow Australian football content creator. Highly recommend checking them out, along with Cat's Born Offside crew, of course. We've got Emad, we've got Martin in the house. Emad, of course, as I've just said. Marcelo, ciao amico, nice to see you. Finally, has been a long time, but great to have you on board. And of course, Cat's own crew, Born Offside Podcast, are in the house with us. I sense a bit of a mutual connection in the not too distant future. But Cat, you're our guest. Tell me the situation about Liverpool. They're currently sitting second in the Premier League. They're doing okay in the EFL Cup final versus Chelsea end of this month. Champions League, you're still very much in the running for that. How do you feel as a passionate Reds supporter at this stage of the season?
Oh, look, you bring up City, and there's obviously the thought crosses my mind that we are in quite a remarkable period, I suppose, for Man City, in the sense that it's going to be hard to take the title off them. There's no denying that. However, I think the silver lining as a Liverpool fan is that it seems to be that when we take the pedal off a little bit with the Premier League, we seem to have a better Champions League result. So I'm kind of hoping that a lot of the energy kind of switches to that, only because I think it's just more realistic to kind of look. We'll keep fighting for the Premier League, but I'm kind of focused on Champions League now, is what I'm trying to say. In terms of the transfer window, I thought they did a good job in terms of filling a position that we needed, finding some great young talent that they'd been watching for a while. And I think the one thing with Liverpool is they're so fantastic with the business side of things. They always pull these young guns out of nowhere and get them for a great price, which, can't be argued. It's kind of amazing. Whoever's doing their negotiations, there's some skill right there.
I hate Liverpool, Cap, but that's one thing I'll give them credit for. Every transfer window, like take United, we have a link for 3 months, and then it takes us 10 months to sign the player. Liverpool, you see, Liverpool linked. 2 days later, Liverpool signed. Then you see the price. I'm like, 30 million. I'm like, we have to get Harry Maguire for 85 million. You guys have bought like 3 mad players for 85 million. I don't understand how Liverpool do it. It's one thing always take my hat off to them. Their business is superb.
They're like the League of Shadows, Rob. They're just like, they come in here, and it's not even a link. They sign the player, and then they get linked with them. They're that quick at doing transfer business. Yeah. It's unbelievable. It's
true. But even as a Liverpool fan, like, you try and kind of keep track of it all, but it's very stealth. And then all of a sudden, it's just they get that ball rolling really, really quickly. But I'm really happy with the signing. I think Diaz is a great player. He's been doing so well at Porto, and I think, to be honest, Klopp saying that he has faith in him and that he thinks he has the right kind of attitude. It's not even just his skills, but culture is really important. He thinks that he's going to adapt really well, the same way that Jota did. It's reminiscent of the Jota signing in that sense, because for me, he kind of came in, he's young, but he filled in exactly the way that we needed him to. He adapted really quickly. And he was a sign of, I suppose, that kind of longevity signing that we needed, because we are, as you said before, getting to that point where Salah, Mane, Firmino, they're getting older. So there is that question around, where are we going with the team? So Jota and Diaz are a great example, I suppose, of those players that are going to step in and be those players that we need in a couple of years when we're looking at replacing the likes of Salah and Mane and all of that, which will be a very sad day for me. But yeah, so it's exciting because we are obviously doing well. It has been a decent season so far, but I'm really looking forward to seeing what Diaz can do for the team. And also, I think we're witnessing a fantastic period for Jota, the way that he's coming up. The way that he's shone in the absence of Salah and Mane because of AFCON has been superb. So I'm really excited to see, what we can do once we've got the crew all together again.
Yeah.
It's scary.
said.
It's scary for me, Kat, because I look at your team and how good you've performed. And when we spoke last time, this kind of, and it seemed to keep happening before AFCON, people were saying, yeah, but we'll see what Liverpool do when AFCON comes. We'll see how they go without Salah, Mane. By and large, you've done a good job. You've done a good job in that period of time. We kind of got a fixture delayed to try and give ourselves some kind of advantage over you, and you still knocked us out of the cup. But I guess it kind of shows that you want Salah in the team. You need Salah in the team. He's a remarkable player. But I guess it would give a little bit of hope that if he was to leave, you can still survive and you can still be a top team. Do you think that man, Mohamed Salah, is going to stay at Liverpool? If not, where do you see him potentially going? And do you have faith that Liverpool will still get by? Yeah, and Emad's echoing my sentiments.
Yeah.
It's a really good question because it's one that haunts me every time I see Salah play, because we don't have an answer to this yet. And I think that, look, the concern is that I know the way that Fenway works. They, their business, their money kind of before loyalty to a player and all of that. And the reality is that as much as I can sit here and say, just pay Salah whatever he needs in order to stay, I know that's not ultimately how Fenway makes their decisions. And so it is very likely that once his contract terminates, that he does move on to another team. Where he goes, I do not know. Does he go back to Serie A? Does he end up playing for Newcastle? Who knows? And I would hate to see that, truly. But I think on the other hand, we are in a really awesome period of time where we typically thought a player was dying off at 30. We're now seeing that some of our top scorers in football are 34, 36. 30s, being in your 30s is not an issue these days. So I hope that kind of motivates them to renew his contract, in the sense that just because he's getting a little older and he's asking for more money, it doesn't mean that it's not worth the investment.
Where do you sit on that though, Kat, though? Like just quickly, because obviously the sticky point, the elephant in the room is money, because that's important to him. He, on one hand, as a top class player, wants to get his maximum value for what he's worth, his perceived influence and importance on the team, which, I hate to say it, he's one of the top players, if not the best player in the Premier League at the moment, and probably Ballon d'Or favourite for next season. Is it a question of, is it worth caving into his demands, or put on a different hat? Are his demands reasonable given his output and talent? Or is Liverpool as a business thinking, if we break our wage structure and give in to him, what happens to the likes of Virgil van Dijk, Alisson, all of your other top-class players? They might say, we're equally good and we want a pay rise too. So where do you sit on that side of the argument?
Well, where I sit is that Salah's one of my favourite players. And the fact that he plays for Liverpool makes it even better. I truly think that even if he played for another team, I would still have the same respect for him that I do have. But I think what's really important, and I suppose because I know this, it does impact my opinion, that when it comes to making these decisions in terms of how they assess salaries and everything like that, it's judged by people who are really not allowed to view the game the way that we do. They do sit and they assess the data for what it is. They look at the players on paper and say, truly, how important is this player to our game? It's not them sitting the way that we are and kind of watching it for the entertainment value as well. So I think if you can look at it on paper and say that Salah is as influential as he appears to be as a viewer, then absolutely pay him what he should be paid, because the money is deserved. Are the prices in football extortionate anyway? Yeah, they're crazy. When you think of the type of money that we're talking about, it's something that I actually can't fathom. But I do think, the Moneyball strategy works in sports, and Fenway have done that forever. But I wouldn't be surprised if they dropped him either, because they have dropped players at the top of their game before. They own the Red Sox. They've dropped incredible sportsmen just because they were asking for too much. And like you said, the reaction that could have across the team, and then how the money component impacts culture. Like, it's just a vicious cycle. So I think if you can justify the salary based on the influence, then yes, I do think that you should pay the player for that, because if you don't, they're going to do that for another team.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the reality of it. So yeah, it kind of goes in circles, but ultimately I want Salah to stay on the team. And if they can make that happen, then they should.
Yeah, fair point. I just want to bring in a point now, and obviously going to get Scott and Rob as an outsider as well. And unlike us passionate Reds fans, Kat, obviously, but we spoke about a couple of incomings, and I think that's really smart future-proofing for the club, because on one hand, we've seen Klopp's really good track record with integrating players that might not be the top of the queue in terms of being the superstar of today, but they do leave their legacy and have an impact. But Scott and Rob, we'll get your thoughts in that order. Do you think that the transfers that Liverpool have made are more about helping improve them today, or is it about just really trying to protect them for any future losses, with likes of Salah and Mane potentially being on the outer? Scott, you first.
It's a little from column A, a little from column B, because we're seeing now this season more so than ever before that football's a squad game. You are only as strong as your squad. Now, if Liverpool had have done an Arsenal and kept a bare squad that had, minimal depth, then they would have been in trouble during AFCON. The reason they've got through is because they had a guy like, and I know he's a starter as well, but someone like Jota who could step up and be a main man. You had guys like Oxlade-Chamberlain, who he's not going to start for any of the big clubs, but he can step in and do a job during this time. Guys like Minamino, all of these players who are squad players really stepped up. So to me, if Liverpool can add quality young players to their squad, they've got time to learn from these big guys like Salah, Mane, and then when it's their time to step up, they take that chance. So to me, it's both. It's future-proofing, but it's also going to be very beneficial for these last 16 or however many games we've got left, because teams are going to need to call on the strength of the squad to get through, because COVID's not going anywhere, injuries aren't going anywhere. So your squad is going to be absolutely important. So kudos to Liverpool. I think they've done a really good job at managing it.
Yeah, well said, Robbie. What do you think? Are you on the side of Scott there, thinking it's good for the short and long term, or do you think this is just more about protecting themselves against Salah because he's digging in his heels and wants to get his market value, essentially?
Yeah, look, again, I think definitely there's going to be a little bit of both in there, but I think the protection is quite a big thing too. And like exactly what Kat said about, lowering their average age of their squad, so they're bringing in, like I said, your Jota, your Diaz today. So just like I said, they've got that option or plan B if someone like Salah goes to Real Madrid one day, bang, they've already got a replacement, and then they're probably looking for someone behind him that can come in again, another young player that they can get at a good price. So look, protection I'd say is a big thing, or it's not just that, forward thinking, which I like. That's what you want. People that think, okay, what if this happens? They've already got their plan B already lined up, ready to go. That could possibly become a plan A. So quality players, young players, so they're averaging they're lowering their age, average age of the squad. And then, like I said, at the moment, Salah and Mane are still there. So, like you said, they can still have time to slowly get into the team or learn off the senior players.
Yeah, no, great point. And earlier, the Football Capital actually put up a comment in the chat about the rebuild. Would Klopp stick around for something like that? It's got me thinking a lot about his legacy at Liverpool and what he's helped achieve since the moment he joined. And I always sort of compared him as a benchmark about what clubs like Chelsea and others aspiring to the title to chase down City should follow in that sort of model, where they bring someone in with a clear vision and let them have time to inject their ideas and build a bit of a dynasty. But with Klopp now and City's seemingly endless amount of resources, etc., do you think with the rebuild, Klopp will hang around, or is this something where he's just trying to help the club pass on the baton and wish them luck and maybe move on to sort of different honours? Kat, what do you think about Klopp's future at the club?
I've not seen anything that has suggested to me that Klopp intends to leave anytime soon. Once again, stealthy Liverpool, you never know. But I think the fact that he is so on the ball with up and coming young players shows that he is thinking longer term for the club. And it's not to say that he sees himself around in the next 5 to 10 years, but there's definitely a sense of preparing the team for the next 3 to 4 years. We're looking at, the post Salah, Mane, Firmino period, which says to me that he doesn't really have any intention to leave, or he's just, setting up the next manager to do a good job as well, which also shows that he cares about the longevity of the club's success, which is what you want. And your point earlier was really interesting about having kind of that plan A, plan B team. And I think when you look at Arsenal, for example, they're setting themselves up to be a spectacular team, in my opinion, in the next 3 to 5 years.
You're being too nice here, Kat. Don't worry about Scott. He'll be okay.
Sorry, Scott. I got you, Scott. I feel like this happens every week. Whenever I'm with you guys, it's me and Scott.
It's Kat and Scott show.
But I think probably that's where they've gone wrong in the short term, is that they've kind of gotten rid of all of their experience and they're left with these young players who need experience but have a lot of skill. And so I think Liverpool is finding that nice balance, but that is Klopp's doing. I do think that he has prepared the team for what's to come. Thank you, Martin. He says, I talk a lot of sense, and I appreciate that.
But then you made a compliment to Scott, so I'm not sure he
Martin's a Spurs fan, Kat.
I'm actually feeling quite ill. How much playing to Liverpool? I feel ill.
It doesn't matter what I do. I'm gonna say something wrong, so I'll just keep saying what I'm thinking.
Excellent.
It's interesting, though. I mean, you mentioned Arsenal. I don't know, RJ, if you had anything else really Liverpool focused you wanted to throw in, but reflecting, did you have anything else you really wanted to go down?
No, not really. I thought it was a nice recap, and the reality is you broke it down very well and gave us all a bit of a picture. It's not the end of the season. You've got lots to fight for. You've made some smart, astute acquisitions for the short and medium term, which I applaud. As a risk manager by trade, I really like the foresight of the club and really safeguarding themselves. But I was actually trying to use this as a bit of a segue in recognising the end of the January transfer window, Scott. And I think there's no better way to kick it off with the very busy and active Arsenal Football Club and your expectations about the January transfer window. So why don't you recap some of that nice rant you gave us before?
Look, it's a good transition. And like I said earlier, I have put out a more comprehensive 10-minute solo rant, if that's your kind of thing, that you can check out on the channel. But, I mean, it's just pure disappointment for me because we've stumbled into a situation this season, and I'm using my words very carefully because I genuinely feel we have stumbled there to a situation where the top four at this point, and much more clearly a couple of weeks ago, was a reality that could happen. If you asked me at the beginning of the season if we'd make the top four, my answer would have been absolutely not. I predicted we'd finish fifth, and that was me being generous. But everyone else around us was stumbling. United were in the mud. Spurs are Spurs. West Ham started like a house on fire and they dipped. Everton sacked a manager, like everyone expected them to be there. Villa sacked a manager, like all these clubs that were expected to be putting on the pressure kind of said, go for it, Arsenal. Here, go, make the most of the opportunity. And we didn't do it. Hey, man, taking the mic, mate. We didn't take advantage of that. And I saw this transfer window as an opportunity for us to build what I was talking to Kat about before, a bit of depth, and add some quality players and a striker, because that's our priority. We've seen Aubameyang go for free, which I can't get my head around where it went so wrong. It's kind of like, and it's happened to me a lot in high school, if a girlfriend called you up and said, it's not you, it's me, see you later. I know you're probably thinking, how did that happen to someone so good looking? But it did a couple of times. So it's a little bit like that. You sit there asking, where did it go wrong? What happened? What didn't I do right? What's caused this? And I can't put my finger on it with Aubameyang. He did make some mistakes, and he was publicly hung out to dry by the manager. Not a tactic I like. I like discipline, but I think, and Arsene Wenger was really good at this, you keep it behind closed doors. Unless you're Chelsea, who forced an apology from your player, which worked. You handled Lukaku better than Mikel Arteta handled Aubameyang.
Well, Lukaku also went rogue on the club. So they had to deal with the fact that he did that.
So I will respect that Aubameyang throughout the whole thing, and he was treated horribly by the club. Left out of the squad, training on his own, didn't get a call up to go to this Dubai camp, but Jack Wilshere did. He never came out publicly and bagged out the club. So I'll always respect him for that. But to lose someone who won a golden boot a few years ago for nothing, that to me, I couldn't get my head around. So we've missed the mark. We've really missed the mark, and we are not going to finish in the top 4. No chance. I've lost that hope. We might be lucky and scrape 6th, but I'm nervous about Aston Villa, who have done great business. I'm nervous about United potentially getting some kind of resurgence. Yeah, I don't see top 4 happening, and it's because we blew it. Arteta, Edu, if we don't make top 6, they both have to go for me. There's blood in their hands. See you later.
Yeah. Quick question, Scott. There you go, just from Tom. I think you're going to ask a similar one there as well, Robbie.
I'm hoping they give the captain's armband back to Xhaka so we can get rid of him. Because to me, Aubameyang couldn't be forgiven for turning up late, but we can forgive Granit Xhaka for ripping the armband off and throwing it on the floor, telling the fans to, we all know what he said to the fans, and his stupid red cards that have cost us multiple key matches. So hopefully he's the next captain, because I'd love to see him go on a free.
Scotty, just quickly on Arsenal. We're just as bad, but you guys do not learn from your mistakes. Tell me this is not an Ozil 2.0. He gets a big contract, gets a big payday, and then he leaves on a free, or he's hanging around the club like Ozil did. I just don't understand. And it's not just those two. Like, I was listening to TalkSport today. There must have been a list the size of my arm of the amount of players you guys have let go for free or let go and barely got any coin back for him. It's the input and output is crazy.
Mate, we are dreadful. Even all the players we got rid of, and I want to address this comment in just a sec. Even the players we got rid of, it was either for free, a guy that was our captain, or all on loans. So we've just massively stuffed it up. We don't seem to be able to sell a player. I don't know what's going on at the club, but it's a shambles. In terms of this, and I have mad respect for Eddie. He's a good guy, good friend of the show. I don't know if I can back this project now, because Martinelli and Saka's contracts very soon are close to 2 years. And once a player gets under 2 years in their contract now, the way football is, they know they've got all the power. Wait it out a few months, start negotiating with other teams. There is no loyalty in modern football. So while we've got this great youth project, they're getting constantly hyped up by our fans, by the media. They're not going to want to sit around to not be in the Carabao Cup, not be in the FA Cup, not be in the Europa League, not even be in the Bloomin' Conference League, which is a Spurs Cup. Like, what makes someone like Saka and Martinelli want to stay, especially when your man, Kat, Jurgen Klopp, keeps flirting with Martinelli? I don't like it.
So good. I love Martinelli.
He's gone to Liverpool, Scott. Just accept it, mate. He's gone.
You're normally my ally, Kat, and whenever we're on stream...
I'm sorry, but when Liverpool...
Stop it.
I've been watching Martinelli since he was... since he signed with...
Keep watching. Keep watching from afar.
All right.
Yeah, look, Aubameyang, the last thing I'm going to say on it, because I ranted, I know. Aubameyang didn't fit Arteta's system, and that's part of the reason he wasn't scoring goals. He could not play up front on his own in the system. I would have liked Arteta to be tactically flexible, which I think an elite manager is, and play him up front with Lacazette again. Lacaz's in good form. Orba could have come in and done well, but It wasn't to be. Arteta took a stand, and we've lost the Aubameyang for free. So I wish him well at Barca. He deserves to be banging in goals. I hope he smashes it.
Fair enough. Robbie, Manchester United, obviously the talk of the town for various reasons, good and not so good reasons. But from a transfer perspective, like we were saying at the start of the episode, usually you're linked with some big rumours. You're a big club, Manchester United. A lot of players want to go there. Manchester United want to buy a lot of players. But this time round, pretty quiet from what I saw. A couple of early links to players like Tchouaméni, someone that we were going for, Zakaria, which great signing for Juventus, if I'm not mistaken. A couple of important outgoings, but equally a couple of important non-transfers that happened. You want to just talk us through Manchester United's business and just your overall thoughts about how you're feeling about their activity or lack of activity?
Yeah, well, the obvious thing is disappointed. I feel like forever the last 5 years we've been screaming out for midfielder or midfielders. And again, we've got another window. We've got Ralph that's come in. I thought the board might have maybe given him at least one player to say, hey, we've got the rest of the season to go. You've come in, you've steadied the ship a little bit. Someone like a Zakaria, 5 million is nothing. Like I said, that's a steal for Juventus. And it's something that you should be taking a risk at. For $5 million, you bring a player in or on a loan or something like that, and you say, for $5 million at a club at Manchester United for the rest of the season, we're in the Champions League, we're in the FA Cup still, and we're still trying to obviously get that top 4 position. Why not have a bit of bring in a little bit of a extra depth, especially in midfield, which we so desperately need. We've obviously let Anthony Martial, the players we've let go. It hasn't really hurt me too much, only because I haven't been playing barely the whole season. Obviously, it's thinned the squad out, which is not great because you can just see in the next week or two we are going to get a couple injuries, and then when you're fighting on a couple fronts, the squad's going to get tired and stuff like etc. It's just how that's why you normally have big squads. Obviously it's going to be a little bit easier for less players will be unhappy because obviously it'll be less players are not getting picked and more players getting more game time. But like I said, sporadically what happened with the whole Greenwood situation, we've just lost one of our, he's I think our second or third top goal scorer in our squad this season, and bang, he's obviously just gone out of nowhere. And then at the same time, we've just let young Ahmed, he's gone to Rangers, which I think is a good young prospect. I think it's a great move for him to go to the Rangers, someone that's fighting for a title, bit of pressure at the top. Scored 5 minutes into his debut, which is great. Anthony Martial, obviously, he's been I've discussed him over the year a while. I said that last year he was probably his worst year after he had his best year the year before, and I said that especially with Ronaldo and Cavani there this year, he would probably be the one that I'd say would probably have to move on if he wants game time. He's barely had any game time. He's wanted to move away for a while, so I think okay, fair enough. He's gone to Sevilla on the loan with no option to buy, so he might pick up a bit of form and he might be able to come back. And obviously with people like Cavani, that'll probably be out the door next year. And obviously Ronaldo's getting older.
Lingard as well. That was a strange situation. I thought they would have wanted to get something for him. But
too greedy. I don't know if you guys heard, United come up today and be like, oh, we want 14 million in bonuses if Newcastle stay up and we want this
survival package or whatever.
He's got 6 months left on his contract before he's let for free.
You're going to get nothing now.
I said that we had this argument with you, Scott, last year, and you get 30 million from him. I said, mate, we should take 15, 20 million when he went to West Ham, any kind of money. Now what's going to happen? He's going to stay there. He might maybe sit on the bench because, like I said, within the team out a little bit, but he's not going to be an important part of the team. He's going to go for free at the end of the season. He's on big dollars, and we're getting nothing in return. So, look, that's disappointing. Again, I feel sorry for Henderson. He's someone who wants to fight to get into the English team. He wants minutes. He's not going to get it. Why not send him on loan? I don't know. Who else was there? Like I said, the Jones situation, disappointed. I think lack of ambition from Jones as the team's come in for him to say, hey, we'll give you some game time. Obviously, he doesn't like the thing. He's happy to get his paycheck and sit on the bench. Like I said, it's disappointing, but I'm not too disappointed because I wasn't expecting much. So, yeah.
Yeah, very cool. Kat, it must be exciting as a Liverpool fan to see Manchester United in the mud, don't know what they're doing. They can't keep their players in line. Everything's happening for the wrong reason at United. But just look, very off topic, just very connected. bit off topic in terms of transfers, but about what happened the other day, because obviously everybody saw it. The whole Greenwood situation, everybody took notice of it. Very bad. We all obviously on the show very disappointed and obviously don't condone any of that. Yes, the player's lost his career, it seems like, all allegations at the moment, but very much looks like that. But it's tragic firsthand for the person involved, that's the victim. But did you guys have any quick thoughts on that before we jump back into transfers?
Well, look, I'll quickly first on this one, Kat. Sorry. Look,
Great.
the first thing I want to say is this has nothing to do with Manchester United. So that's the first thing. It's a human being thing. It's a terrible thing, and I was the first one in line. It looks really, really bad. I don't see him coming back for this. It's a career ender. And look, if it's all true, he should go straight behind bars for me. But the thing is, I just want it separated from this is all on Mason Greenwood. I don't care, 20, 21 years old, that you're old enough to make the decisions in life. And this is a life decision he's made, a wrong one. So it's got nothing to do with the football club. I'm sure Manchester United as well, being how big they are, they're going to obviously have to act quick, back the police. They've come out with a short statement. He won't be playing or training until further notices. He's in custody with the police. That's it with the whole United thing. Because like I said, Scott, for instance, could do something like, against the law as a teacher. Like it shouldn't affect the whole teacher's foundation. He'll be dealt with it, and that's it. So that's my point of it. I think it should be dealt according to. And for me, the evidence there that looks like he's guilty. But like I said, it's always innocent until proven guilty, but this one looks really bad.
For
Kat,
sure.
did you want to add any words?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you. It's like you said, it's his job. And what I do when I'm not at work has nothing to do with my work. The sad part for United is that they're obviously affiliated with him. And, I hope for the club's sake that we don't find out that, that they were aware of anything that happened, before it was leaked. Because I think there's so many elements to this event that make it really difficult for me at least, to say exactly how I feel about it, because obviously I don't condone it and I'm completely against domestic violence. And I feel like it goes without saying that she did the right thing by speaking up. But it's so complex in that, there's so much talk around how long ago this actually happened and what was happening on the back end up until all of this information was leaked and who knew what, and it just gets so messy. But I just think and I said it on the Born Offside podcast last night when we recorded, that I think for me, I always take the stance of innocent until proven guilty in everything, because I feel like we so often see instances where high profile people are done wrong by, but I don't think that this fits that particular scenario because of the evidence that we've already seen. So for me personally, this is guilty until proven innocent, because I feel like he's so deep into this right now that it's going to take a pretty remarkable turn of events for me to not feel that he's guilty and to not see that he's guilty. But yeah, I'm such an advocate for standing up for things that aren't right, but these things are so hard to make a judgment from when you're standing so far away from them. We're so far removed. There's so many people involved, a lot of powerful people involved, a lot of money involved, and it's going to be really interesting to see how this unfolds. And I say interesting because I think we're all just curious to know what direction this all goes.
Yeah, look, from me, just quickly, because I know Kat and Rob have done a good job on it. It's unacceptable behaviour. It's not okay. The evidence to me seems pretty cut and dry, but you never know. I would say let the courts, let the police do their thing. Trust that they will do the best they can for the victim, because the victim should be supported, should be cared for. It's not on. I would hope that if it is the way it seems and he's guilty of doing something quite heinous, that he's locked up. He's locked up, never re-signed, and he has an opportunity to be punished for his crimes. So
yeah,
I also think it's really important though that the league and society still make sure that player education is at the forefront of everything they do, because a lot of these guys, and this is not an excuse, because I believe he should be massively punished to the full extent of the law, but a lot of these guys are growing up with media fawning over them, attention everywhere they go, more money than they know what to do with, and they're never being told no. They're always being told that they're number one, they're the best, they're this, they're that. I think there just needs to be a lot of education invested in players as well. It's not an excuse to him. He's a scumbag if it's true, but you've always got to think punishment is the right thing to do when there's been a crime. But if you can prevent things from happening through education, I'm a massive advocate for that too.
Yeah, I'm with you on the prevention thing. It's like in another code, rugby league close to us here at home in down under Australia. Prevention is not just in terms of education, but it's also in trying to help fill up these young, talented athletes' time more productively, because the reality is they train a lot. They've got, up-to-date nutrition programs, and they play obviously during game day. But they have a lot of spare time. So what do you do during that spare time? So it's about having these programs, education, like you say, but doing other things, community-based programs, actually contributing back in other ways outside your primary job to give you a better sense of reality for the average common person like us good people here, except for Kat as a celebrity. But just rounding off the topic just very quickly, because you all spoke very well, I just want to say, Rob, that I thought Manchester United as a club were very sensible in what they did. They acted quickly. They said what they needed to say. Some people have come out and said, oh, why didn't they come down with like the Thor and the Thunderbolt and say, he's terminated.
Yes.
You just can't. You've got that old chestnut called legal process that they've got to follow. And they've done that perfectly. And they've stood him down. They've kept it very cut and dry and let the legal proceedings take place. So I think they've done a commendable job, to be honest. And obviously I'm not a United fan. But speaking of United, there's enough of that serious talk. One player of Manchester United that's, I think, helped his cause to try to resurrect his Premier League career, because it never really took off, to be fair, is Donny van der Beek, off to Everton. Everton have made some very good signings, especially on deadline day with Dele Alli, but Donny himself and my man, Super Frankie Lampard, he's at the helm. He's obviously going to take them to the treble next season. But in all seriousness, I think that they've done exactly, along with Arsenal, they're going to battle it out for promotion again, hopefully. What do you think about that, guys? Kat, we haven't heard from you. Your neighbours across the ditch there.
Yeah.
Everton made some good business, or you think it's all a little bit of smoke and mirrors?
No. I think they've made some really great signings, and I think players that I can see doing a good job for Everton too. But I am most excited about Lampard. Because I just love the idea of Lampard, like a Villa Everton game, and we're seeing Lampard and Gerrard head to head, and I love it. It's the romantic side of the sport, right? It's just something that it just feels right to see those kinds of rivalries.
It's that generation of players, Vieira, Gerrard, Lampard,
so much. But I think they're great signings. I do want to see if Frank can apply what he did at Chelsea and hopefully just be a little bit more successful at it, because I think he definitely gave it a good shot at Chelsea, but obviously didn't quite hit the mark there. But I like the way that he fostered talent. I think he's really good at picking up on young talent, and he can kind of spot them early. And I think that's where their experience as players is so crucial, because Gerrard's perfectly capable of doing that too. But I'm really excited to see what he does for them. Everton is obviously, the rivalry of Liverpool, but they don't feel like a rival right now because they're fighting relegation. So let's just see if we can keep them in.
I like that cheeky dig. You're trying to compliment them, but remind them where they are at the moment.
Yeah, I have to humble them also.
Yeah. Look, Arjun, I actually want to hear your 2 cents on this, because it was a couple of weeks ago, and just after Rafa got sacked, I was like, oh, how about Lampard for the job? And you were like, I want him away from it. I don't want him near it. I don't think it's a good choice for him.
That's Photoshop, mate. Don't buy that.
Yeah, what do you think of it now? Because, look, I personally think he'll go all right there. I like how the players like that. They said Frank wants these players, and they kind of got signed pretty much before he got announced. But for me personally, as a United fan, actually I'm glad number one Donny's got to move. I think he deserves game time, and I think he is a young, talented player. I actually would have preferred him to go on to Palace, if I'm being honest. I actually think he would have suited their style a little bit better.
Better manager too.
Now that it's actually a bit weird because previously before they just signed Dele Alli as well, Everton, I was thinking if he goes to Everton, he's going to be playing him more of a 10. And if he plays and excels in a 10, I just don't see him getting back a position. He's not going to overtake a Bruno Fernandes at United. Considering if he went to a Palace, I could see him playing more as an 8. And especially with someone like a Conor Gallagher in midfield as well, I could see them two linking up quite well. And I think if he did excel as an 8, he could come in and actually have a chance at a return at United. But now that I said at Everton, it'll be interesting to see that he's bought him and Dele Alli, which you'd think Dele Alli would play the 10. I'm very interested to say it was quite a few years ago, I think, when Ronald Koeman took over and they sold Lukaku for 75 million. They bought like 6 players and 4 of them were 10s, and none of them like Sigurdsson, none of them fitted into the team. So they bought all these creative players that thought we're going to get goals from midfield, and they had no goals at all. So I'm quite interested to see how Lampard sets up the team and how they play together and how they all kind of gel, I guess. But yeah, look, I'm really glad he's going to get minutes. I'm sure a lot of United people will tune into Everton games to see his progress.
Yeah, well said, Scott. What do you think about Everton's business, mate? All jokes aside, obviously, Lampard, he's a risk, obviously, massive risk to go there. Everton's a traditional big club, but high risk, high return. They're obviously very impressed with his thorough interview process. But what do you think about his appointment and the players that he's helped influence join the Toffees?
I think the player business is excellent for Everton. They've gained significant strength in midfield. Everyone knows Dele Alli can play when he wants to and when he's switched on. And Donny's someone who just never really got consistency. I think they'll both be really good signings. I don't get the Frank Lampard hype, to be honest. I've seen it all over my timeline. Can someone tell me what Frank Lampard's achieved?
Sure.
Tell me, RJ. Tell me what he's achieved.
All right, so let's go back to start. He went to Derby. They were in a pretty miserable situation. Narrowly missed out on their promotion to the Premier League.
They didn't get promoted.
Yeah, he lost in a playoff to the team that won it. So, okay, he didn't. Got drafted in second season to Chelsea. Lost Eden Hazard, who carried them the season before. Transfer ban. Got them in the top 4 despite everybody not tipping them to make it. Got a whole bunch of players signed in the next season. Obviously, COVID hit. Bunch of injuries happened. He was 9th at the time. In January, got the sack. That's the short version. He topped his Champions League group, made an FA Cup final, lost in interesting circumstances. So what has he done?
I'm not hearing much, brother. I'm hearing...
Who's better at the moment, though?
I'm hearing didn't get Derby promoted. I'm hearing didn't win a cup at Chelsea. Still with a transfer ban, you managed to bring in like 3 players. You had Pulisic come in. You had Kovacic come in, who was on the way out. You had Jorginho, he was already there. Yeah. Chelsea fans, worthy Ballon d'Or winner. So, I mean, I don't get the hype. If he wasn't English, we wouldn't be talking about Frank Lampard like this. But I see the attraction in signing him and putting him in. He's very marketable. He's young. I don't mind him with the media. But I just think they're in a relegation scrap. Now, I'm going to be really controversial. I'm going to set you off. I know I'm going to set you off. If I'm Everton, I bring in Sam Allardyce. I think Sam Allardyce will get more out of Everton in their current scrap than Frank. I don't know if Frank is a fighter. When he had to fight with Chelsea when the going got tough, we didn't see that he could fight. I mean, he was chopped brutally, but I don't think he's a fighter. I think they probably could have brought in someone who's done a fight. I would have brought Big Sam in for Everton and then reanalyzed it at the end of the season. They wouldn't go down with Big Sam. They're not going to go down with Frank either, but I just don't get the hype. I do not get the Frank Lampard hype. He hasn't done it.
I wouldn't say that with confidence that they're not going to go down, and it's got nothing to do with Frank. As Everton, they're not far behind the relegation scrap, man. And like I said, I reckon, unless Frank's going to pull a bunny out of the hat and this team's going to transfer overnight, I think they will stay up, but I don't think it'll be easy. Like they're going to just boost up the ladder now, and it's got nothing to do with Frank, because I actually think I'm not on the hype train, but I actually think Frank will do a decent job. I thought he'd done a good job at Derby. I think they're probably looking at, he likes to promote youth, and he will play with the tools that he's got. They've obviously, they want to probably make a good impression. That's why they've backed him early in the window and they've given him a couple of players, as I did today. Everton for me is just weird. Like they just never seem to progress. So staying up for them at the moment is a progression. Every year we say they pump them. They always pump money. They always back their managers. Big time. I think it's Mashiri, their owner, and he said we'll back the manager again. We've got to the supporters have got to get behind him. But no matter what they do, nothing seems to happen to them. They should be like Aston Villa and Everton should be one of those teams, should be at least in the Conference League at least every year, or fighting for a Europa spot, and they never seem to get it. So, like I said, I'll be interested to watch what Frank does there.
I was going to say, I think I agree with you, Scott, in the sense that when you look at his CV, it's not super convincing. Like, I agree with that. And I think I was really hesitant about him taking the Chelsea job because I felt like there was that it was hyped because he was, because of his history with the club.
Yeah.
And you do see instances of that, and it doesn't always work out well when they kind of pick a manager because of that relationship. However, I do think Chelsea is one of those clubs where they don't let a manager hang around very long anyway. So it's hard to show that you're a fighter when they're going to drop you for not getting any results quite quickly. Like Abramovich is ruthless. He will just let you go because you're not getting results, which, that's the nature of the game. But I think it's hard to see what a manager could actually do in that environment if they're not given the time to do it. One thing, that makes Klopp stand out as a manager is the fact that Fenway did give him such ample time to turn that team around. It didn't happen instantly. It didn't happen in 2 seasons. So I think if they give him the patience, if they have the patience to let him turn this team around and to develop those youth players, then, why not? Like, I really don't think it's something that's that far-fetched. But, it's all hypothetical until we start seeing it happen. So,
yeah. Look, that's an interesting point, and I like how these people are having a shot at Lampard and his CV and that. But any professional ex-football player is going to be unfairly criticised. Oh, they only got in because they're a player. Hang on, they all did their badges. They all had the hard yards. He's gone through the battle, and Scott, you say he hasn't shown any fight. He took on the chalice, the poison chalice at Chelsea, knowing that they didn't have the ability to go buy any players. And they lost their best player for the last 5 years. And again, he achieved top 4 against those odds. And the next season, he underperformed. But I'd like to see a manager integrate 6 new players in without all the chance of success. Like Klopp done so well because of the reasons Kat stated. To say that Big Sam would do a better job now, at the end of the day, Everton had this very thorough interview process and he impressed them. So obviously he must have done a pretty good job in that.
And had a good playing CV, man. Saying he's brave for taking the Chelsea job, get off him, man. It's like saying that I'm smart for buying a lotto ticket and winning it. Not smart, it's a risk. He took the Chelsea job. Of course he would. He won the lottery.
But you're not going to last long because they have a results-driven environment, and you're not
an underachiever taking Chelsea. Like it's a no-brainer. Of course you'd take it. I mean, it'd be like if they offered Thierry Henry Arsenal. He's going to take it straight away. He doesn't deserve the job. He's not good enough. I wouldn't say he's brave for doing it. I would say he's lucky. He's won the lottery.
And even with Everton, though, as well, like we all agreed on this show that Everton are a struggling team. He's knocked back other job opportunities, supposedly, but went and offered to take on that job anyway, knowing that they're in a difficult situation. So I think that actually speaks volumes for his character, that he doesn't mind the challenge. But ultimately, the proof's in the pudding. And if he doesn't perform, we joke about Chelsea getting rid of managers quickly. Everton hasn't got a really good track record themselves in being patient. So he'll very much face the firing squad if he doesn't hit the ground running. So I'm very keen to see Everton go for obvious reasons. But it's going to be very interesting. What about his rival in terms of Gerrard and Villa, I thought that they've done some pretty good business as well, haven't they? Like, what do you guys think about Villa's transfer window? Because everybody's making all these shock waves, but they're slowly going about their business, and they actually mean serious business. I think they're going to be pushing top 6 before sooner rather than later. What do you guys think about that?
I agree.
I'm going to keep it short because I know there's a few other teams, Newcastle and Spurs, I want to have a slight touch on, and the clock's running. So you guys cover Aston Villa, and I'll go on to one of the other ones.
Go on, Kat, ladies first.
I was just going to say I love it, and I'm like a low-key, I'm not going to call myself a fan of Villa, but I'm like watching their every move because I'm just loving it. I love how they play. I love the energy of that club. I love the culture of that club. When we talk of fighters, I think Villa are fighters. I love the whole mentality. I think Gerrard has done such a great job. And I'll just reflect back on a comment that I made. I think it was last week's podcast. I said I loved his comments around Coutinho and about, that a player never loses talent. They just lose confidence. And, this could be the same comment that we could use about half the players we've talked about today. A lot of these guys within the transfer window that have been thrown around are examples like Coutinho, where they haven't lost talent. They've lost confidence because they've been on the bench for too long. And when you work for a manager who sees that potential in you and actually gives you the opportunity to run around and get that confidence back, the change that you can see in a player is remarkable. And I think, we've had a taste of that with Coutinho, and I'm just looking forward to seeing what else he can do with the club.
From me, they've done brilliant business, and Stevie G needs to be commended for the job he's doing. I know I put flack on old mate Frank. Frank was the better player. Stevie G is levels above in management for me. He's done a good job. Everyone said Coutinho would flop. All evidence at this point in time says that he's not going to flop.
Very short sample size.
I was going to say, it's only had a game.
Dean is a top player, mate. He scored more goals than some of the players who have flopped at all 3 of our clubs. So I'm not going to throw shade at him. Luca Dean, a great signing.
Luca Dean, I agree with. I think
it's just been good business by Villa and very proactive. They're not waiting for risks to come. They're seizing the moment. So I do think they'll be in for a bolt for European football. Not quite top 4, but I reckon they could scrape 6th. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. But well done to Villa. Well done to CVG. Good business all around for them.
Yeah, I agree. Well done to Villa. The jury's still out on Stevie G. I think he's an up-and-comer, but I think he'll do very well with that team if they give him the time. But speaking of teams that don't have too much time and they've really put their hand in their pocket, Newcastle, like you said, Rob, you were obviously publicly very sceptical about their chances of Premier League survival. Has your stance changed now after their transfer window?
Not a lot, if I'm being honest. I think they brought players in, and they brought depth in. Again, I'm interested to see how quick their chemistry gels. I think there's a few good players that there's a couple in there that are not I don't know a lot about. The Brighton player, haven't seen a lot of him. The Aston Villa player they bring on loan.
Target, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think he'll be really good for their defense. They need the
Bruno. What about Bruno, Rob?
Sorry?
Bruno, I can't pronounce it. But Bruno Guimaraes.
Yeah, look, again, I haven't seen a lot of him. I heard he's decent. They need a goal scorer. So, look, they're just going to have to hope. Like, they bring in Wood the other week, and I talked him up as a good signing, as he's a proven Premier League goal scorer. And a lot of, like I said last week, the Toon review was there, and they haven't been very happy with him so far. He hasn't really hit the ground running, and he's a Premier League player. So there's always a risk of bringing players in from overseas. And look, I've said it the whole time that they're going to go down. I'm going to stick with my guns, even if I'm going to have humble pie at the end of the season. I'd like them to go down. But like I said, I can prove you wrong on one thing, Scotty. You did say they were going to pump 300 million into him. I think they just maybe hit 120. And
figure of speech, mate. I didn't have my calculator out.
Yeah.
Take the L, mate. You said 300 mil.
You said they're going to come in.
I said they'd spend, and they spent more than all of our clubs. So
120 million, and most of it was on the last day. So you have to look
more
at
than Chelsea,
like a panic buy.
Arsenal, United.
We didn't spend any money. You could have spent $1, basically.
Exactly. So look,
I'm just saying. Look, I'm not hating. I'm giving my opinion, and I'm proving my point the whole time. So if I go down,
you're sticking to
they go
guns,
down.
mate.
Mate, you owe me something. I'm telling you.
No, they're not going down.
That's
Madness.
it. Well, you know what? We'd all, I think, be unanimous agreement about a team we wouldn't mind seeing go down, but I don't think so because they've topped up their squad and good piece of business, I've got to say, from our. I won't call them rivals because that would imply that they're on an equal footing. But Tottenham have done a pretty good job. All in the last few days, they got rid of some, not deadwood, but some players that didn't fit Conte's mould. He's been very vocal about the team's lack of quality from his perspective. And they bought a couple of pretty handy players from Juventus, and I'm particularly fond of Bentancur. I think he's a very good player.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm sure Martin and Alex in the chat, they probably also have some viewpoints about Spurs' business. I know Martin says that they've done an adequate job, and here he is, he's excited now. But Kat, first up, I'll get your point of view. Spurs have flown under the radar here, last minute, come in with the old swoop and grab. Do you think that this improves their chances of a top four race?
Not top four.
As a top four, there's a bit of work to be done.
Just kidding.
Will it be better? Yeah. Can only get better. I am actually a little bit. Spurs are one of those teams that has actually shocked me a little bit this season in how much they've kind of declined. I'm so sorry, Martin, to call your team out like that, but they are one of the teams a little bit like United, to be honest. Like at the start of the season, I didn't really expect either of them to be doing the way that they're going, but they are. I'm not super like across the players that they've brought in, but you know, like I'm all eyes. I'm waiting to see what happens, and yeah, if it improves. Harry Kane's been pretty absent this entire season, so if they can work with him and start scoring some more goals.
He only likes to score goals when he pushes people in the back, Cat, but we won't get onto that too much.
Yeah, that's his technique, is it?
Well, that's it. You know, some players like to do that. But Robbie, I know you probably have some thoughts because we're both pro Conte fans here. Do you think this is smart business?
Yes, I do. Obviously, I'm a Juve fan as well in the Serie A, so like was quite interested on both sides of these transfers, and I actually think well done to Spurs. You have to say, because out of the teams in that top six at the moment that are going for that top four, West Ham didn't bring anyone in, Chelsea didn't bring anyone in, Arsenal didn't bring anyone in, and United didn't bring anyone in. They've got rid of some players that Conte didn't want or he's not going to use, and he's used obviously his Juventus connection with Paratici, that was the sports director at Juventus at the time, now at Spurs. He's used that connection to bring in some players. And look, again, I'm a Juve supporter, so I've watched these players for years and quite closely. Kulusevski, look, for me, I was like, he was supposed to be the next Ibrahimovic. He's got a solid left foot. He's young. The thing that I think Conte will like about him, he's someone that will work for the team and he wants to learn. He's one of those type of players, and that's exactly what Conte wants in players. He wants them to turn up, give 200%, and I think he'll do that. Bentancur, I'm actually surprised that Juve let him go for the second half of the season. I know we did bring in Zakaria as well for our midfield, so it was a bit of an in and out. And I thought, obviously, we've got in Dusan Blažević, which I think could be
huge signing.
It's a massive signing, which I didn't expect. And I'm not talking him up that much, but if he continues in his form at his age, 22 years old, he could be up in the Haaland and Mbappe bracket someday soon. I'm not joking, he's that good. But yeah, I think they've done on the Juventus. I think they've done great. But yeah, to let Bentancur go, I think he, like you said, he's a class midfielder. Just workhorse, does his job. He's not cute. He's a really good passer of the ball. So I'm curious to see how these players again adapt to the Premier League. That's always the big question at the end of the day. But out of the top six that are going for the top four in this little battle that I just said, they're the only ones that have done business to try and enhance their chance for top four. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's a good point.
They did lose in Ndombele, Dele Alli, Lo Celso, Brian Gill. So they've lost a lot of players. I mean, you made me chuckle, Robbie, because you'll sit there and throw shade at Newcastle's window because they don't have an Italian manager, but you'll sit there and applaud the Spurs window where they let four midfielders
I'm applauding a winner, number one. Conte is a winner, so tell me what their coach won nothing. And I'm only saying, you have to say that they've been backed. Levi's backed him, and then for someone, if you look at those players that let go as well, Ndombele, 65 million, I think, was a transfer record for them. They only bought him last season. He's gone.
Lost money.
David,
Lo
what is his
Celso
name?
as well.
Brian Gill. He got like 6 months ago. They signed him and he's out the door already. So
Yeah.
for him to be like Conte, that's one thing I said about Conte from the start. He's demanding and he wants what he wants. So they're obviously going all in on him. He wanted his players in. He wanted these players out that he's not going to use. You just look from where I'm standing. You just got to say you got to applaud them from doing what Conte wants.
Will be interesting to see because I mean we've seen it with Tammy Abraham as a prime example, someone who didn't cut it over here in England, went to the Serie A and looks like he's levels above what he actually is. So it'll be interesting to see that how these guys from the Serie A come over and acclimatise and adapt to a league that is very different. I'm not going to get into a debate about superior or inferior leagues, but it'll be interesting to see how they go because we have seen, I use Tammy as the example, going over there, he was, a little bit of a flop here. He wasn't getting the output that he is there. And now at Roma, he looks a completely different guy. Could be management, but also could be league. We've seen other players who have struggled coming from Italy over to England. So it'll be interesting to see. I, for one, hope they're massive flops and it hurts Spurs. That's what I want. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
We will see, and we will see what the effect of this is on the Premier League because there have been a fair amount of increased activity this transfer window relative to other transfer windows at this time of the year. So I think in a month's time or so, we'll get a pretty good picture just to see how influential or otherwise some of these players are at their respective clubs and managers. We have to throw in there. There have been changes because obviously even Watford, they got in Mr. Hodgson in there. So I'm sure I'll have 3 new managers by the next time you're on Cat in a month's time. So I'm sure they'll be good fun to talk. But the light part of the show, a couple of quick fire questions just to round it off because it's not every day we are welcomed by Born Offside famous co-host.
Quickly cut you off. Just on a nice thing. I just want to make a special mention. I think it's really nice to see Christian Eriksen back in the Premier League. Brentford's taking the thing. Look, I thought I'm sure all of us last year in the Euros, I watched that game live and seen what happened. I thought, bang, his career was over after that. I'm actually surprised, especially after he left Inter, that he's ever going to, kick a football at a Premier League club again. So for him to be welcomed back and fit again, I think that's just really nice news.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's such great news.
Signing off the window, I agree.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting, though. I hope he does show his quality because we all know what he can do, but it's just more sentimental, but hopefully it's a bit broader than sentimentality because the Bees at the moment, they could sure use a bit of sting in their step.
Totally.
All righty. What I'm going to do, Kat, you know the drill. We'll shoot out a question. We won't muck around too much in explaining our answers, but let's be short and sharp. I'll go first. My question is, if you were directing your movie, who would you want to play your character?
Oh, that's so hard.
Could be any genre, action, drama, whatever it is.
It would have to be like a Marvel type movie because I had COVID over Christmas and I watched like every Marvel film ever made again. I'm just in the zone. Let's go like a Scarlett Johansson or something. Like, why not? Just make her brunette.
Good answer.
Excellent. Robbie?
Well, I'm going to have to go Leo DiCaprio, mate. Massive fan. I'd love Leo DiCaprio is the man, mate.
That's a good comment from me, Matt, in the chat. He's saying you've got Wonder Woman vibes.
Yeah, Gal Gadot. Yeah, that's try.
Yeah, that would be a good shout, actually.
Wow,
that'd be a good shout.
Yeah, that's a great
shout.
Look, for me, I'll probably go Danny DeVito. It would be a little bit of a comedy, mate, because when you're an Arsenal fan, there's plenty to laugh at. So I'm going big Danny DeVito. He's my man.
I love that shout. He's classic, especially in Jumanji. I'm not sure if you've seen him recently. He's classic in that. But I would go outside option here, Denzel Washington. I just love that actor. He's unbelievable.
I thought you were going to say Higuain or something.
We're not playing lookalikes, mate.
I
would have picked the Rock.
Vin Diesel?
Sure. Definitely, obviously. But look, I would go Denzel Washington. Amazing actor. Scott, you got a quick fire for us or what?
Now we didn't pre-plan this. My questions are in a very similar mold. If you had to be an animal, right? What animal would you be? It's got to be an animal that you pick for a reason. What animal would you choose to be?
Easy, I'll go first on this. I've always said a lion. I don't know if it's because it's this whole star sign thing. I'm a Leo. I just like that whole king thing. So yeah, I'd just go lion.
I
What
would.
about you? Oh no, Kat, you go.
Oh, sorry. I would do the whole. I get the lion thing or like a tiger or something, but I think I'd just love to be a dog.
What
What
A
type
dog
of-
that lives with a really nice family.
Yeah, that's fair answer.
Okay, all right. RJ, what about you?
Well, a lion is obviously a very obvious choice. You know what? I'd probably go like the gorilla, like a King Kong type thing. Just something like that, I think. Someone that's like a leader of a pack in that sense.
Yep.
You know, you boys know me much better than Kat would know me. I kind of just like lazing around at times, like having some football,
All very true. Yeah.
chucking some FIFA on. I'll probably be, this isn't a fat joke, but I'll probably pick a whale because no one really messes with whales. It's not like anything attacks them. They just float around the water, spout some water in the air, and they have a really peaceful life. I'd want to be a whale.
I love it. All right, boys and lady. I got 2 quick fires. With the Winter Olympics coming, I've kind of gone with that theme. So I've gone pick 1, Cool Runnings or Mighty Ducks 2.
Oh, Mighty Duck.
Cool Runnings.
Yeah, I like Mighty Ducks, but I think Cool Runnings is better.
Yeah, I agree with RJ. Big.
I feel like
Ducks
I
fan,
grew
but-
up on Mighty Ducks. It's like
I
Yeah,
think-
number
yeah, I
2.
love
You said
it.
number 2, didn't you, Rob?
I said Pacific number 2 because they kind of played in a good rule game. So yeah, I'll round up Cool Runnings for me as well. Are you staying, Cat, with Ducks?
all right. Do you want me to? Okay, I'll say the same as you guys.
All right, cool one. And the last one, what sport would you play if you were in the Winter Olympics?
I'd be a figure skater.
Hockey. Wouldn't mind a bit of the old biffo in there.
I'd probably say snowboarder. Snowboarding, right? I don't watch much Winter Olympics. I'm guessing it's in there.
Yeah, I think so. We'll just say it is. I'd go with I'd be teammates with Borgie. I'd go hockey as well.
There you go. Hey, Kat, only because with Emad, we always stir him up. He gets frustrated that we always have a food question. I'm gonna chuck a food question at you, all right?
All right, go.
You rock up to an Italian restaurant, just a nice Italian restaurant. What are your 3 orders? What's your entree? What's your main? What's your dessert?
Okay. I can answer this pretty quickly. My entree would be an arancini. My main would be, if I'm in the mood for a pizza, it's a capricciosa or a diavola, depending on my mood.
She's got the accent going as well.
Yeah, geez.
I'm surrounded by Italian people. Or if it's a pasta, it's got to be like a linguine, like a seafoody linguine kind of
I was
situation.
going to say like
And
a
then-
gambaretti, a prawn one
Yes.
or something. Or,
yeah, or like a vongole.
Yeah, Wongo.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And then the dessert is a no-brainer for me. It's a tiramisu.
Oh, there you
All
go.
right.
Go on. Quickly, Robbie, what's your order, mate?
Oh, easy. Salt and pepper calamari.
Yep.
Again, I'd go the marinara, but I'm weird. I always have it with penny, and I'd finish with a panna cotta at the end.
Emad kills me. Emad killing me tonight. For me, it would be a bruschetta. I don't mind some good bruschetta.
Yeah. No glaze. Oh, wait. Balsamic
No
glaze.
balsamic.
Oh,
No.
that's the worst thing, that balsamic glaze.
Hate balsamic. I don't
Same.
eat salad, mate. Don't give me any balsamic. Tortellini boscaiola for the main. Dessert, nice panna cotta. Good
Yeah, panna cotta's the go.
Go on, RJ.
Baby octopus, grilled baby octopus. I love that. I would go, like I said, linguine marinara. Or if it was a pizza, I'd go a meat lovers pizza. I love meat lovers, meat man. And dessert, probably either a plain ricotta cake or ricotta cannoli. Cannoli, sorry.
And smash it all down with a limoncello at the end, huh?
Absolutely.
That is just too funny. I'm done.
Well, Kat, it's been unbelievable. I was going to say it's going to be a short, sharp episode, but we did go through quite a lot. It got heated at times. There was plenty of banter. It's nice to have a passionate Reds fan in the house and given your perspective on where you guys are currently at this season and beyond. And it's just been unreal in terms of the live chat from us and just going through all the transfers, because we all agreed it was quite a very action-packed transfer window. But just any final words, Kat, just to let the listeners know what you're doing these days, and obviously to work with Born Offside, and just anything else happening on your front.
For sure. So I am on the Born Offside podcast these days with Claude Fabiano, who I believe has appeared on the show before.
He has.
And Paul Unpackers, who is the TikTok king. And the three of us sit down every Monday night. It comes out Tuesday morning, and we talk about anything that is kind of a part of football culture that week. So if it's the results of a game, if it's a story that's come out, we will talk about it and we give our perspectives. It's called Born Offside because we're not scared to kind of just give our opinions on things. And they're saying I don't know who they are, but someone's telling me that it's Australia's top football podcast. So there you go, guys.
Excellent. That's why we're so privileged to have you with us mere mortals, Kat. We just envy to be the talk of the town. You run
circles around me with your football knowledge.
Us YouTube plebs. No, you guys are doing madness over there. I love listening to the three of you. You've got such a good chemistry. Anyone would think the three of you have been mates for your whole life. So, no, congratulations to you guys for what you're doing over there.
Thank you for all the questions and everything, and all the like collaborations and contributions to the show. Like it helps so much. And yeah, please keep it coming. Send in voice notes and stuff too, because we love playing your voice notes for our listeners. It's very.
Do you want my thoughts on Frank Lampard via voice note?
Absolutely. Send it for next week.
Some rational ones only, though.
Yeah, something that will really annoy Claude's, because he's obviously a Lampard fan.
And even Olin, I believe we're all Blues brothers, if I'm not mistaken.
It's true.
And what a jersey he had on earlier, by the way.
Oh, you poor thing. Nice. Poor thing.
You know what? It's okay. It's okay. There's worse colours to look at than the Chelsea blue for me. So
fair call.
Fair call. Any final thoughts, Scott, Robbie? Yeah, just want to get your last minute thoughts before we wrap this up.
Being fun, man.
Yeah, exactly. Being fun. Another great show. Again, thanks to Kat for joining us. It's always great to have you on the show. We have to get you on again. I love the collab. This is what I love about football. As I said the other day, the football community, talking football, just relaxing. So thanks again. And we'll see you on the next one.
Beautiful. Couldn't have put it better. It's a football thing. Thank you very much, Kat. And we hope to see you on Thursday evening. Until then, take care.